Our first speaker will be Kevin Howlette. As project director at EHS International, Kevin works globally with industry, maritime, recycling, and emergency services, providing training, consultancy, and incident response solutions that address the evolving dangers of lithium-ion battery technology and associated toxins. Kevin is an experienced safety professional with a unique combination of frontline firefighting experience, chemical knowledge, and specialist rescue leadership. A former firefighter with 17 years of service, his early career also included work as a QC lab technician and hazmat officer, giving him a really deep understanding of chemical processes, hazardous materials, and the real-world risks. For the past 15 years, Kevin was served as a specialist search and rescue director, leading high-stakes operations and multi-agency coordination across a range of emergency scenarios. And I think today Kevin is dressed for occasion, so we can see. Okay, Kevin, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Okay. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm going to come from a slightly different line of attack here. Because we're actually involved in this world of lithium with all the toxins and the evolving hazards. So next slide, please. So yeah, EHS International, we're a global team, and we operate through quite a lot of different sectors, but primarily my role is the issues surrounding lithium and how we deal with them with solutions and innovations. Next slide, please. So some of the incidents we've already been involved with, way back in 1918, I was asked to look at an incident on a ferry. One of the first iterations of EVs. Then back in 2020, we had an incident in a power station where we had 10 million pounds worth of LG 48 kilowatt batteries that had basically, the roof had collapsed and a lot of water had got into them, and we had to mitigate that. And that took about 14 weeks from start to finish. 2023, we had another incident up in a critical site up in Kells transfer station, where we had 140, again, 48 kilowatt batteries that had been left outside in rain, and 7 went into critical state, and we successfully, not only did we de-energize them, but we were actually able to get them recycled, and I have the evidence of those batteries actually have been recycled. 2025, moving forward, we've just had another 14-week operation energizing substantial batteries, 78 kilowatt hour batteries that had gone on fire on a recycling site, and we were asked to come in and deal with them. We're also advisors to the Zero Tech incident in Galway on January 2025, and that's still an ongoing issue, so very little I can talk to you about that at the moment. And currently we're dealing with 180 tons of lithium-ion batteries from as far back as 2001. And some of those batteries were damaged as well back in 2001. So next slide, please. So I'm going to talk to you about an incident that's happened recently that's had major implications, and listening to all the talkers previously, it really does lead into that toxic contamination of PPE. So this year we had a major incident which had a huge knock-on effect and is deeply concerning already. And it's not surprising, and it underscores the critical gaps in post-incident contamination control, especially involving lithium-ion batteries. I actually have seen the evidence of this incident from drone footage and from robotic footage, and it's quite devastating. And that incident, after we had the explosion in that incident, which we weren't involved in, it basically put 5 firefighters into hospital with contaminated tunics. In doing so, they unintentionally expose 4 medical and ambulance staff to toxic byproducts, okay? Which, again, this is what we're kind of seeing on a regular basis. We'll see, any type of response to lithium, and we're getting our PPEs getting coding in it. And it reflects the breakdown in decontamination and secondary decontamination. So the protocol for that needs an urgent review to make sure that any of these lithium or toxic events we go to must be some, really urgent need for reform on decontamination. Next slide, please. So, firefighter PPE in those lithium-ion batteries can be heavily saturated with toxic compounds. And one of the biggest concerns is the hydrofluoric acids, the HF. It's highly corrosive and it's a penetrating gas. And when it off-gases and when it gives off all those gases, we can get anything from 300 to 500 ppms. 50 parts per million can be fatal when inhaled between 30 to 60 minutes. Now, if you look at the right-hand side, you'll see that battery is one of the batteries that I was talking to you about. Now, that battery, you can see, had sustained serious fire, but it was still giving off a huge amount of hydrocarbons, gases. When we decontaminated in full duration breathing apparatus and chemical suits, we were getting huge readings on our gas detection equipment. So which we had to put in a lot of zoned areas on a recycling site that was a working site, and it caused lots and lots of issues. Okay, so some of those hydrocarbons are the electrolytes from that fire that can actually cause that degradation and failure. Okay, heavy metals. Lithium batteries also contain heavy metals, like the cobalt, the nickel, the magnesium, the copper, and again, they lead to a huge toxic effect on our PPE. And what we tend to do when we finish a major job like that, we will get our fire tunics destroyed and all our chemical suits, because there's no point in keeping them, because the effect that might have when they're going to be washed, and where does that runoff water, where does that water go to when it's being basically cleaned? So we have an environmental team that has decided that we will no longer get them washed. We will have them destroyed. This also leads to the secondary contamination of those people going to hospital. And also, don't forget, if anybody's using fire blankets on these vehicles and stuff, it will have a very similar effect. Okay, next slide. So, we talked about earlier on about the PPE, and if you can see, this is my original fire jacket, and it doesn't fit me anymore. So back in the days in the Northern Fire Brigade, we had the cotton PPE, and now if you look what I'm wearing today, and one of the reasons I put this on today is we can see the huge advances that we've made, in PPE in the last. And I've been in this role for 46 years, and there's been substantial changes. But what we're starting to find now is that firefighters are, having to use these fire tunics and this PPE, as we said before, at all different types of incidents. It is not suited to lithium fires, okay, with the amount of hydrofluoric acids and these heavy metals that get into our tunics. So one of the things that we have looked at is using robotics as well. So, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So again, when firefighters go back onto the machine and the cab, they're taking, we're taking this chemical or this toxic effect into the cabs, and as we're seeing now, a lot of fire brigades are bagging and putting their PPE into the back of the fire engine and putting a new set on. Okay, so if this doesn't happen, secondary contamination will occur, and those exposed to it will now have a major problem. Next slide. So the recent incidents that we talked about in these in this particular incident in a company that I can't mention caused severe burns to some of the firefighters, and we now know that out of all these 9 individuals have not returned to work yet. So they're still recovering from the effect. Now, these are not images from those incidents, but you can see the damage that hydrofluoric acid does to the skin and to the lungs. It's in some cases it's permanent damage, and you can see the damage to the lungs and the alveoli and the lungs, and it's critical that we get this right and make sure that we don't carry this through into hospitals, ambulances, first responders, paramedics. We don't want to get them contaminated either. So next slide, please. So we're seeing a trend of lithium-ion fires, no proper scene decontamination, no change out of PPE before boarding emergency service transport, no contamination or contaminated gear, which has been gas-tight suits as such that have to have significant time to don and put on. This highlights the lack of training or awareness around the toxic exposure of lithium-ion fires. There's no established SOPs for lithium fires at these major incidents, okay? An inadequate response plan for firefighters and patient transport from that hazmat scene. So again, it's when we turn up to these incidents, it's recognizing that this may be a lithium fire, whether it's off-gassing from a scooter, from a EV, or even from battery packs in BESS units. Okay, next slide, please. So some of the operational challenges are that these fires burn hotter and longer and often require much more water. So that exposes firefighters, much longer to these fires. So if they're being exposed more, that means the exposed longer duration is going to actually contaminate the firefighters even more. So what we've got to make sure is that these hazardous incidents, that we make sure that we have adequate procedures in place and make sure that those SOPs allow us to withdraw firefighters at certain and given time. Okay, next slide, please. So again, we look at the occupational health risks, okay? And we're looking at, it's now not just a fire service issue, it's a public health service issue. It's an occupational safety issue, and it's a liability issue as well. Fire departments, ambulance services, paramedics, hospitals, recovery vehicles, okay, coming to incidents, recycling plants, and battery energy storage units. Again, these are all areas that we need to really start looking at and making sure that the training, the response, and the PPE that they're wearing is adequate for these incidents. Okay, next slide, please. So, decontamination, okay? And it can be a daunting task to decontaminate properly. So this is a setup that we would normally use when we go to lithium incidents, okay? No contamination PEP should be worn once we've gone out of the hot zone. We should decon, we move into our clean areas, and we should make sure that there's no secondary contamination. You can see that's quite a good setup, and we're using lots and lots of soapy water and lots of different types of chemicals to get those lithium particles off our PPE, which are then bagged and then sent away for destruction. So next slide, please. So solutions. Next slide, please. So we have recently put in a couple of our robots into Kent, Galway, and we're looking at Manchester Fire Brigade at the moment. And what we recognize is that robotics should go first. And as you can see there, the Avenger is the first line of attack, and the firefighter is the second line of attack. Now, that doesn't work for every incident, but what it does, it allows firefighters a bit of time. We can get water on, we've got thermal imaging, we've got gas detection, and it allows us to protect the firefighters. And basically, it is one solution, but there's no silver bullet out there. So this has happened in Kent as well. And if you look at the next video, I think it's the next video that you'll see the Avenger actually in operation. Next slide, please. So if this, so you can see there, this is going to play very, very quickly. So it's a very short video, but what you can see there is the Avenger on the left-hand side is doing all the hard work. We've got the firefighters up in the HIAB on the right-hand side here, but you can see we're actually able to send the robot in and let it take all the hit, okay? Instead of our firefighters getting in there, getting contaminated, and it has a huge, huge effect of protecting people. Okay, there it is. There's the Avenger there. And again, we put suppressants through it. We use the LifeSafe suppressant. We use the multi-purpose fluid for lithium batteries. And that again is pushed through just like foam. And we can saturate from about 6%. Okay, next slide, please. Again, probably up until recently, nobody really knew that there was a standard lithium extinguisher out there. So this is the EndoShield. It works at a molecular level. So instead of sending firefighters in there, we can send the Avenger in, and this is what we put in the Avenger. And you can see it has a category of A, B, F, and electrical, and a 600 watt-hour suppression for batteries. Okay, next slide, please. Again, this will show you how that works. So we've typically, we work with LifeSafe, and you can see we're burning this hay. This is just to show you how the EndoShield works on wildland fires and all different types of fires. I was extremely critical of this when it first came out, but it's completely blown my mind how this works at a molecular level. So we're now attacking a fire and we're changing the atomic construction of the fire. So this left-hand side has been treated, whereas the right-hand side has not been treated. So you can see the effects that this has now on, again, instead of sending firefighters into a fire now, we can now put this through the Avenger, or we can put it through, whatever way we see fit, through drones, whatever, and we can suppress the fire and get the fire out before we actually send our firefighters in there at these, at the wildland fires. Okay, next slide, please. So, so in just 4 decades, we've gone from woolen leather to high-tech multi-layered PPE, okay, for firefighting. But I'm still concerned that, the world we're in at the moment with lithium, it is not protecting firefighters enough. And again, I'm not using this as a marketing drive, but we can use modern technology, and that includes drones, that includes robotics, to actually take some of the pressure off our firefighters and allow our firefighters to do the job what they're meant to do, and that's rescue and save people's lives. Okay, I think that's my last slide. Thank you very much.